Welcome, fellow stargazers. Congratulations, you've taken the first step towards the realization. This is a three-part video series, a series about inventions. Humans have continued to invent new things throughout the entirety of their existence. And as the title suggests, in this video and its upcoming sequels, we'll be trying to find out which is the greatest invention of all time. Now, before we start, let's make a clear distinction between an invention and a discovery. Although very self-suggestive, these two terms can still confuse a lot of people. A discovery is essentially finding out about something that already exists. That's how you find new things, by removing the cover they've been hiding under, by discovering them. An invention, on the other hand, refers to something that has been created by conscious human thought and effort. It may also be said that what nature invents is what humans discover. We often try very hard to discover or invent things and find answers, but sometimes things lie right in front of our eyes and we don't even realize it. With that being said, let's start part 1 of the series, where we'll take a dive into our history of marvelous inventions. Let's start off recent. The 21st century alone has seen the emergence of a lot of novel inventions, whether it be the reusable rockets, 3D printers, artificial intelligence, or tools for gene mapping. These are only some among the many great inventions we've made in the 21st century. They don't nearly get as much admired as they should, and that's because they are so recent that we haven't started to notice their far-reaching implications yet. So let's go a little back in time and look at inventions that all of us know for sure have heavily impacted our lives. The 20th century has witnessed the most dramatic change in technology, one of the most recent examples being the internet. Originally thought of and started in the 1960s, this tech was used by the US government researchers to quickly share information from one computer to another. Such a technology was very important for the US, especially because those were the days of the Cold War, and they needed to develop a faster way of data transmission. Soviet Union's launch of the Sputnik really got the US working, and the US Defense Department started working on a system that would allow information transfer even in case of a nuclear attack. This led to the development of the Advanced Research Projects Agency Network, short for ARPANET. This network was what would later be called the Internet. The access to the ARPANET was limited to the US Defense Department and their affiliates. And for a while, things remained this way. Until 1983. January 1, 1983 is often called the birthday of the Internet. And rightfully so, because on this day, the Internet was officially made available to everyone. The famous Transfer Control Protocol or Inter-Network Protocol was signed on this day, which allowed different types of computers to connect to each other using the Internet. And from there, the Internet took over and now has a wide spectrum of users, ranging from space research to just laying back and watching a YouTube video. But while we talk about the Internet which connected computers, we must also talk about computers themselves. Our world today is unimaginable without computers. You're literally using a computer right now as you watch this video. Smartphones count. The first use of the word computer dates back to 1613, when it was used in the book The Young Man's to describe a person who performed calculations or quote-unquote computions. when the computer as a machine was first invented is not an easy question to answer because of the different categories in which computers are classified. In fact, the oldest record of a computer-like device comes from ancient Greece, where the Antikythera mechanism, as we know it today, was used to predict astronomical events such as eclipses, movement and position of planets, and irregular orbits. It's truly astounding how much our ancestors knew about the world. The first mechanical computer was thought of and developed by Charles Babbage in 1822. In 1837, he proposed the idea of a general-purpose computer, although due to funding issues it could not be developed while Babbage was alive. In 1910, Henry Babbage, who was Charles Babbage's youngest son, was able to complete a portion of this computer and use it to perform basic calculations. In 1890, Hermann Hollerith developed the first computer that could store information. The same man, Hollerith, would later form a company which we know today as IBM. Similarly, the first programmable computer was developed between 1936 and 1938. This way, a lot more types of computers were created in the upcoming decades. If you want a detailed account of the same, I've linked an article in the description that you can check out later. But the point is, computers continue to evolve, and in many ways this evolution is going on even today. Another fairly recent invention are the medicines and healthcare facilities we use in modern times. Although the history of medicine dates back to ancient times, almost every civilization had thought of and put into practice its own versions of medicines and treatment. Ayurveda is an entire branch of medicine from ancient India that has managed to survive to this day. In ancient Egypt, there used to be a man called Imhotep. Very little authentic information is known about him, but it's believed that he was an architect and a physician, and he had successfully diagnosed and treated at least 200 different medical conditions. Hippocrates of Greece is widely regarded as the father of modern medicine. A significant contribution he made was to point out that diseases had natural causes, rather than the supernatural causes thought of back then. The oath of conduct of physicians practiced in the world today was also originally introduced by Hippocrates. In the 15th century, Leonardo da Vinci also gave his contribution in the medical field by making detailed sketches of dissected human corpses. This helped us better understand the human anatomy. Time and again, there have been significant breakthroughs in the field of healthcare that have led us to where we are today. Be it William Harvey's discovery of the heart and the circulatory system, or Louis Pasteur's pasteurization technique, or Edward Jenner and von Behring's contributions in vaccinations, or Alexander Fleming, Ernest Chain and Howard Florey discovering and commercializing the antibiotics, or something as recent as the COVID vaccine being made in the shortest amount of time in human history. Very certainly, we've come a long way in medicine and healthcare, and our future expectations and goals are no less ambitious, as we plan to extend human life through genetics, or maybe even bring the dead back to life. All of it sounds like something from a sci-fi movie, but that's only for as long as these ambitions don't turn into reality. And given how much curiosity we tend to have in this field, it most certainly is only a matter of time before our ambitions for the future of medicine become commonplace. And as we talk about important inventions, we simply cannot ignore the light bulb. This invention has been so remarkable, it literally has become the symbol for ideas. Light bulb, as we know it today, is the result of the thought process of generations of people. The idea of generating light through electricity was present back when British inventors demonstrated it using the arc lamp. This was way before people like Thomas Edison even came into the picture. In 1835, the first constant electric light was demonstrated, and for the next 40 years, scientists worked on the incandescent bulb, which is essentially the kind of bulb in which electricity is passed through a filament, making it glow. All of these early light bulbs had very short lifespans. That's when, in 1879, Edison and his researchers started working on improving the light bulb, and succeeded in making a bulb with a lifespan of about 1200 hours. Edison also developed the Edison screw, which became the standard socket for fitting light bulbs. In the 1920s, the average lifespan of a light bulb was 2000 hours, with some bulbs having a lifespan as high as 2500 hours. Since then, the light bulb has only seen more and more improvement, and by 1934, the average lifespan of the light bulb was 1205 hours. Wait, what? How can the average lifespan of the light bulb decrease from 2000 hours to 1205 hours in just a decade? This was an improvement. What went wrong here? Enter 1924. On December 23, 1924, just one day prior to Christmas Eve, the top light bulb companies of the world held a secret meeting in Geneva, Switzerland. They formed an alliance of sorts called the Phoebus Cartel. Veritasium has made an excellent video on the same, so you might want to check that out. In short, these light bulb companies agreed on reducing the lifespan of their light bulbs to 1000 hours. This was done to increase profits and sales, because if light bulbs had higher lifespans, nobody would buy new bulbs for a very long time. The Phoebus Cartel was initially planned to last until 1955, but due to a lot of factors, which by the way involved World War II, it dissolved by the end of the 1930s. But the impact the cartel left on our products is felt to this day. Even today, a lot of companies purposefully decrease the lifespan of their products to increase sales. Yes, Apple, I'm looking at you. This practice is what we call planned obsolescence. Although today, at least in case of light bulbs, we finally have the light emitting diodes or LEDs, which have a significantly higher lifespan than any incandescent lamp in human history. Alright, hold up. You know what? We've been talking about quite a few inventions that have been made in a very narrow time frame, just 200 to 250 years. So all of them are very similar stories. It's one guy who makes an invention, then someone else improves it, then someone keeps a record of it, then someone like me makes a video on it. So, just to spice things up a little bit, we're gonna go back in time to an era before record keeping itself. Let's turn the wheel of time and talk about the wheel. While it's fascinating to talk about the wheel, the lack of record keeping makes it difficult to trace the exact process of its development. Although we do have some data based on archaeological findings. It is believed that the thought of a circular structure that eased mobility might have come from observing round tree logs as they rolled on their own down a slope. Mesopotamia is believed to be the first civilization to have developed the wheel, around 4200 to 4000 BC. These wheels, however, were not used for mobility. They were in fact potter's wheels, known as tornets or slow wheels. The first use of the wheel for mobility was somewhere around 3500 BC in parts of Europe and Asia. Although, due to lack of record keeping, we still don't know if it was a simultaneous development or whether it was developed in one place first and quickly spread to another. In North America, in around 1500 BC, the indigenous people created toys such as this one. However, they did not use the wheel for transportation until the European settlers arrived. In Africa, mostly only the northeastern regions used the wheel. Egypt was in fact one of the first countries to adopt the wheel for transportation. But regardless of the place, it's almost certain that the earliest wheeled vehicles were four-wheeled. The bronze pots found in Poland and the clay tablets found in Uruk or Iraq are some of the earliest depictions of a wheeled vehicle dating back to around 3300 to 3100 BC. And all of them seem to be four-wheeled. Before the invention of the wheel, heavy objects were dragged on some form of sled, occasionally after applying a lubricant like pig tar to reduce friction. The wheel was a crucial invention, but early forms of it were very inefficient. Slowly, over time, the wheel was bound to go through modifications. And it sure did. Spokes were used in a wheel for the first time in 2000 BC in Anatolia, Turkey. Many spoked wheels have been found in graves which date back from 2100 BC to 1800 BC. However, wires were not used in a spoked wheel up until the 1870s, which led to the development of the bicycle. Another noteworthy improvement in the wheel, believed to have been done by Switzerland and Germany, is the axle. Tires and iron rims are some other important inventions in the wheel. The tire was in fact invented by a Scottishman, John Boyd Dunlop, to reduce the noise and consequent headaches his son suffered when riding his tricycle. Thus, the tire, which was initially sort of a noise cancellation device, eventually became a very important tool aiding in road safety. The wheel is one of the earliest inventions humans have ever made. And how poetic it is that the wheel of human development has since then only moved forward. From the time we lived in caves and barely had any tools to aid us, to the time when we have control over most elements of our planet. From the time we used to wonder what that bright thing in the night sky is, to actually sending people of our own species on that thing. From the time we could hardly travel from one continent to another, to the time we've left our mark on Mars and beyond. It's all thanks to these inventions we've made throughout history that we now are the most dominant force in our immediate surroundings in the universe. Or at least, that's what it appears to be today. There have been a lot of other important inventions humans have made, but due to the limited scope of this video, they weren't featured here. Regardless, one thing's certain. Our wheel of development is destined to roll forward, now at a much greater rate than ever before. We still have a long way to go before reaching our ambitious goals for the future. But that's exactly where the fun lies. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. And until next time, chase brilliance.